Physics discovers why 3D Earth feels like a prison planet. Extraterrestrials show me how to escape. Physics says that your universe is a black hole. Welcome to the Michael Denney YouTube channel, formerly the Thunder Wizard YouTube channel. Disclosure is coming. Open contact is here. Please be sure to come every Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the free, live, guided interdimensional meditations. These are the single most powerful thing anybody can be doing right now, and it is the single most powerful way that you can experience what I'm going to be talking about in this video. All right, so we've got a lot of things to go through here, so stay tuned for the entire video. Last night's meditation was, again, it just keeps getting more and more powerful, more and more beautiful and blissful. They're all different in their own way, but last night for me was very powerful. So I hope you had the same experience. I will be uploading a interdimensional astral travel report based on my experience, and you can leave comments on that video if you whatever your experience was. Fill in the blanks of the things that I maybe have missed or forgotten. So let's just go ahead and get right into it here. So physics discovers our 3D universe is a black hole. So we know what a black hole is. We have them, we see them in our universe. But what I find very interesting is that now I'm hearing that physics is saying that our universe is a black hole. And it explains, as I understand it, it explains all of the problems that current physics is having trying to explain our universe. Because when they come up with, they're trying to come up with universal theories on everything. Universal models of why everything does the way works the way it does, and it'll sometimes be really close, but then there will be something that just won't work. Like dark matter, for example. Dark matter is just a made-up concept, and it's made up because it's the only way to explain a lot of things that don't work in the current cosmology understanding of the universe. So as it turns out, as I'm understanding it, the black hole theory seems to explain all of those things. So anyway, I don't have, that's beyond my pay grade, so I won't get into that, but I find that very interesting. So Earth, first let me tell you, it's for, when this message gets out, and it is my hope and it is my expectation that hopefully sooner rather than later, I will be able to start sharing my message and my experience with the whole world on a much larger scale. But before that happens, people actually have to become, interested. They have to wake up and want to hear about it. As it is right now, for the average person, my message just bounces off of their head, or they think I'm crazy. People want to, talk about alien abductions or, a bunch of other nonsense. They want to listen to David Grush. David Grush has just been hired by the government. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't have any personal experience. Nobody's listening to Dr. Stephen Greer, who has personal experience as well as all of the, the provable documents and all that. And there's a reason for that. It's not that the information isn't out there. I mean, if Donald Trump said, you know what, I want to find the person who has the most experience in aliens and extraterrestrials, he could easily find Dr. Greer. He's out there. Everybody knows who he is. So there's something going on in our minds that the average person, even though you put the information right in front of them, they just look past it like it's not there. This is a mindset. And it is a mindset of the third dimension, because it is a projection of our own internal environment, which we perceive to be our reality, which means if you start to see reality differently than the way you have internalized and perceive it, it will feel as though it's killing you. So what the third dimension has created is this self-protective mechanism that when information or experience comes up that starts to explain to you the true reality, the first reaction of the human mind is just to pretend it doesn't see it. I experienced this many years ago. I was up in the mountains. This was in 2001, actually. It was right after, actually while 9/11 was going on. That's a whole other story. But I was up in the mountains, and I had specifically gone up there with the intention of meeting Sasquatch. I meditated about it for, weeks, because I heard if you do that, Sasquatch will show up. So I wanted to meet one. I had heard that Sasquatches were trans-dimensional beings. They weren't part of our reality, but they could come in and out. And so I was like, I want to experience this. This was, again, 9/11. And I went up there, and sure enough, one showed up. And it was so traumatizing. I have a video about it. If you want to search my channel, you can find it. It was so traumatizing for me to my reality. That being, I knew immediately that being was not part of our dimension. And there's some things that happened that were extremely frightening. But what I found interesting was that my mind actually told me that this isn't happening. As soon as the experience was over, my mind just simply erased it. Now, it was at night, so I had to sleep by myself in the middle of, 20 miles in the middle of the wilderness. So that makes sense, you got to survive the night. So my brain just pretended that didn't happen, and I went to bed and I slept, and I woke up the next morning and the sun was out, and then it all came flooding back. But I have personal experience of how the third dimensional brain will literally delete an experience from your memory. And so this is what happens. This is what is still happening. This is what is still happening when people are brought, this is, again, why Dr. Greer, the most knowledgeable and has the most evidence. Nobody's even paying attention to him. They're listening to David Grush, a guy who has heard everything secondhand. He knows nothing. So, and that's not even, and that's assuming he's not a CIA shill to begin with, which I can't say whether he is or not. But anyway, getting back to it. So it's important that we understand that this is the basis to try and understand not only what's happening in our reality right now, but what reality is to understand that Earth is a closed consciousness experimental space for souls. If you start from that base assumption, everything else will make sense. And if you don't start from that, then you end up in weird intellectual arguments back and forth about all kinds of things. So you can believe me or not believe me. I can't prove this to you. I can tell you with zero doubt that this is exactly what our 3D universe, and especially planet Earth right now, is. It is a closed system. So if you understand anything about black holes warp light so that you think you're looking off into infinity when in reality you're not. We'll get into that. So this is where you are. You are in a closed experimental dimension that was created specifically so that higher dimensional light beings, souls, could come into this dimension, and in this closed space with limited access to reality, we would be forced to go deep within. This is why we're here. This whole life is a meditation. It doesn't matter whether you are Pol Pot or whether you are the Dalai Lama. It is a meditation. And you are deep within yourself. How do I know that? You believe that you're separate from everything. You can't hear other people's thoughts or feelings. You feel isolated. You think nobody hears your thoughts. That's an experience of being internalized within yourself. It's a meditation. You must go deep within to find out who you are. And in this third dimensional reality, if you want to be happy, that's the only way to do it. You must go deep within and discover your true essence. Looking for things outside of yourself, fame, money, glory, power, all of that. That's why none of those things bring happiness. That's why the richest people in the world are the most sick. That's why, they need to constantly be going to the doctor, and they're taking all kinds of medications, and they have heart problems, and they have, name it. It's because people who live based on things outside of themselves, it drains your energy, and it gives you the opposite of what you think you're going after. And this is why it's always been, the kingdom of heaven is within. It's inside that you find your true self, and that's what this reality is about. It is about going deep within. So if you start from that, it'll all make sense. So Earth is a closed consciousness experimental space for souls. Nothing physical can escape a black hole, not even light or thought. That is why you can't usually, send your thoughts to other people. You have to speak. You have to make movements. You have to write something down. You have to give some kind of message for the other person to understand what's going on. That's why somebody can be in front of you. If they speak another language, you won't know anything that they're saying, even though they're connected to the feelings and you can see them, you can hear them. But because we live in this black hole where nothing escapes, not even thought, nothing escapes here. Nothing escapes you. We have to figure out a way to communicate. And even then, we have to interpret. Somebody can tell you something perfectly clear, and you can still misunderstand what they said. It proves it. We're in a black hole where nothing can escape. So the light that is here, that gets here, by the way, physics has proven that even light from the sun comes from a higher dimension. Nothing comes from within here. No light is generated within our third dimension. It always comes in from somewhere else. That's why it's dark. That's why if there isn't a star shining on us, which is a portal to a higher dimension bringing light, without that it's dark. There's no light here. And the light that gets here doesn't escape. It can't escape. So nothing physical can escape a black hole, not even light or thought. So, it doesn't matter what you do. People think if they get into a spaceship and they go off for infinity that, but you'll just be going around in circles and you'll never know it. You'll never know it. There was an experiment done. I don't know if you call it an experiment or a calculation. Anyways, physics and math and stuff that's way beyond my understanding. But they were seeking to determine what shape the universe was. And they wanted to know, was it like something that was finite, or was it infinite? In other words, if you go in one direction, will you end up coming back to the same place eventually? Because it's like it's just a donut or something. Or is it round? What shape is it? So they came up with a very interesting and impossible conclusion, which is that the universe is flat and it is infinite. So in other words, if you take off in one direction, you'll never end up back in the same place. And but that it's flat doesn't make any sense. Flat meaning that it's not curved in on itself, it's just flat. What is that? That's a box. That's the third dimension. Up, down, forward, backward, left, and right. That's a box. That's all that they were saying. The universe is the third dimension. But all of that is just our perception. So since light can't escape inside of a black hole, your perception is it's going off into infinity, when in reality it's bending. But you'll never know that. Your perception is completely off. And you can't understand what's outside of this dimension from inside of it. It's not possible. Because all of the laws of our perception and reality are completely controlled by this closed system. So that's why physics can't figure out. That's why physics can't figure out if there's a soul. That's why science can't figure out what happens after death. Because the only data you're going to get from science is going to be from within where you are. So something has to come in from outside of this dimension for us to be able to see and understand. And this is exactly what I've been experiencing for the past 2.5 years. I've been experiencing information and all kinds of other things from outside of this dimension, which is why, the things that I say bounce off people's heads. That's why this channel isn't, the most popular channel on YouTube. And there's no shortage of, it blows my mind. I'm not going to mention any names, but, I see these YouTube channels come up and they're supposedly deep spiritual channels, and somebody can get tens of thousands of views within a day. And I watch the video and the person says literally nothing. Says nothing. Just babbling nothingness. May throw out a few spiritual words, may make, some spiritual virtue signaling in there, and that's what people want. I don't get it. Well, I don't get it because I've actually tapped into real stuff, and most people, their third dimensional brain doesn't want that. So what I say just bounces off their head. And it's like it's not even there. This video, watch what's going to happen. I know because I look at the analytics. A lot of people will only watch a few minutes and then click away. It just bounces off of their head. Now, I think I said this already. Black hole cosmology explains the Big Bang. So we've been trying to figure out where the universe came from, and there's this evidence that is now contested, but there's this evidence that points to there was this explosion out of nothing. And from that explosion, the universe came. I don't know the specifics, but now I understand that that is in alignment with a black hole being formed. So when our universe was created, it was because a black hole was created. Gravity was collapsing in on itself, and we experienced that as this Big Bang. Remember, everything here is opposite. It's all backwards. This is a completely upside down, backwards reality. And what we see here is, we experience this universe as this big it explodes and expands, and that's actually not what's happening here. Things are very collapsed and condensed, but we experience the opposite. This is why in the third dimension, our experience is isolation and pain and loneliness, and why there's such thing as violence and all that. It's because it's backwards. You go outside of here and there's no such thing as violence. I know a lot of you want to believe that. I know David Icke would tell you that, that violent beings come from the fourth dimension. He doesn't even know what a dimension is when he says that. A dimension is not an alternate reality. There are alternate third dimensional realities. That's not a dimension. We've talked about that. A dimension is a spatial and an energetic thing. So the fourth dimension It would be impossible for evil entities to come from the fourth dimension. The second dimension, yes, because it's a lower frequency. So absolutely, demons can come from the second dimension. Reptilians, if they exist, they would come from the second dimension. They're not going to come from the fourth or the fifth or the sixth. Watch my channel more to understand that. So, black hole universe. No, let's see. Black hole cosmology explains Big Bang. Wait, what is that? What I said? Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. So, black hole universes can create black hole universes. So, we look into our third dimensional universe and we see that there are black holes, and we see them being created. That is another universe. That, I don't know what that would be. My assumption would be that would be perhaps an alternate third dimensional universe, which people conflate with an alternate dimension. That's not a dimension, it's an alternate universe. It might be a lower dimensional universe, but whatever's in there can't escape, according to the laws of a black hole. No light will escape. Nothing can escape. This is why it feels like a prison, because you can feel that you are in a dimension where you can't escape. The good news is there is a way to escape, because science does not know how to quantify spirituality. Science does not know how to quantify emotion. You can't put that into a mathematical program, an equation. Imagination is not something that, again, ask any scientist, ask any doctor, what is the imagination? They might have a theory, but they will never be able to find it. They won't be able to find it in, if they cut open the body, where's the imagination? They won't find it. They might say, well, the brain does it, but they're just making up theories. They don't know. Nobody knows. Just to give you an example, this is something I heard, 20 years ago, that an experiment was done to figure out how long it takes for somebody to make a decision in the brain and then have the body respond. In other words, I'm going to make the decision to pick up my lip balm. So they were trying to measure when does the idea happen in the brain, and then how long does it take for that to then translate to you picking it up? A nanosecond? And what they found out completely destroyed understanding. What they found out is that you go to reach to pick it up, and then the brain responds. Which means that the decision is not made in the brain. It has nothing to do with electrical think in the brain that then tells the nerves. That's what we're told. That's what we believe. That's what science will tell you, because it's just based on third dimensional observation. It doesn't believe in things outside of that. But the reality is that science has proven that the mind, whatever it is not the brain. And that the only thing that the brain does is it acknowledges what just happened. So the brain thinks it made the decision for me to pick up my lip balm. But that decision came from somewhere else. This is just a robot. This is just a meatbag computer suit that allows me to interface with the third dimension. My mind and my soul are not this. And as long as we think we are this, we will be trapped in it. And most people, understandably, are trapped in it. How did I get onto that? So, black hole universes can create black hole. Okay, I don't know how I got on. Anyway, a black hole universe would look infinite from inside. I may have said this, but remember, light can't escape, so it's being bent around. So you think you're looking off in your telescopes, off into infinity. You're not. You're looking at light that's bending around itself. It's a closed unit. People who have had out-of-body experiences know this. They've seen it. They've seen that Earth is not what we think it is. It's actually like a little, it's like this little weird globe, and you can go into it. It's a black hole. Now, beings outside of this black hole can look into it, but we can't look out. ETs, light beings, are not trapped in our third dimensional black hole. So I can't completely tell you definitively the science behind this. And that makes sense because I'm a third dimensional being. But I can tell you that the reason why science asks the question, where are extraterrestrials? Why haven't we seen them? This is why I say on my channel that open contact is here. But if you are trapped in your third dimensional perception, you will never see or experience them. There are people that do CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, human-initiated contact with extraterrestrials. You could have two of them sitting side by side. One person will go, "Oh my God, do you see that?" And the other person will go, "See what?" You'll have two people side by side. One person will go, "Oh my God, I can feel this energy. I'm getting a communication." The other person, I don't feel anything. Because inside this third dimensional black hole, it won't matter if higher dimensional energy is coming in. If you aren't on that frequency, you're not going to get it. If your radio isn't tuned to it, you're not going to get it. So the only way to tune yourself to these higher dimensional energies is to interface with the things that third dimensional science knows exists but can't quantify. Your soul, your mind, your emotions, your imagination. These are the things that are trans-dimensional within you. If you don't tap into them. This is why our society wants to get rid of that. What's the first thing little kids are taught? Stop fantasizing. Stop playing. Go get a job. Focus on, by the way, a non-existent thing called money, fame, reputation. These things don't exist. They're ideas. They don't exist. But little kids are told to do that. We squash and destroy their fantasies, their emotions. We allow it up until a certain point. Up until they're maybe 4, once they get to be about 5 years old, then we start smashing and getting rid of all of that. But up until, 4 or 5 years old, we go, oh yeah, little kids, they fantasize. That's why we tell them that Santa Claus exists. And then we dash their hopes when they, get older. And we tell them, Santa Claus doesn't exist. It's because that's how the third dimension works. That's how third dimensional reality is. When you're just in the black hole part of this reality, which makes it feel like you're in a prison. The way out of it is to begin to awaken to your imagination, awaken to your emotions, awaken to your soul. Use your mind. The most powerful way to do that is energy practice, energy work. Since we're on it, let's take a look what I'm talking about.
We harness energy drawn from other dimensions of the universe to cast spells, to conjure shields and weapons, to make magic. lie beyond the reach of your senses.
So that gives you a better understanding of what I'm talking about. So this is why I keep saying, you watch my channel and all you're doing is watching the videos. Great. That's better than nothing. Are you doing the practices that give you the ability to tap into these higher dimensions? This isn't a joke. It's a real thing. Let's keep going. Let's see, where was I? So ET light beings are not trapped in our 3D black hole, but they can come in and go out. This is why when people see actual extraterrestrial ships, many times what you'll see is just these light orbs that come in and go out. Now, the dark forces have mimicked this. This is what was going on during that whole nonsense with the drones and the orbs and all that. That was not ETs. The drones and the orbs were the dark forces testing their technology. So they have technology far beyond anything we think human beings have, and they can mimic, because they know the existence of these beings. They've known forever, and they've known since 13,000 years ago. They've known these beings exist, and they know what they are, and they've been at war with them ever since. I talk about that in other videos. So they're now testing their technology. They can mimic that. They can project those things so that you think you're seeing orbs, but you're not. You're seeing very sophisticated holographic projections from humans. But when actual ETs come in, very often what they will do is you will see some big ball of light, and then the light will turn into 3 different lights. Then they'll merge back together. This is what's going on, with real crop circles, is that energy is coming from a higher dimension. That's why they're able to do all the crazy stuff they can do and create all these very elaborate designs. And not only did they not damage any of the crops, but the crops will, if you leave them alone, will go back to normal. And where they were, where the higher dimensional energy hit, the plants will have even grown larger than the rest of the crops. So I know this because I've experienced this. Communication with higher dimensional beings happens in a realm outside of our understanding. And it will completely blow your mind if you've ever done it. I know some of you are doing it and know what I'm talking about. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know that there's any other channel that gives as many tools as I do that helps you shift and change. But one thing that has to happen is your internal experience of yourself has to change in order to be able to access it. You're accessing outside of the third dimensional prison planet experience. All right, so I just said that. Interdimensional contact meditation breaks the third dimensional barrier. Black holes are formed by gravity, which is attachment. So that's why you have 2 people. One person, reaches out, makes contact. They see a light ship. They feel and understand they're getting telepathic communication. The person next to them goes, "I don't feel anything. I don't know what you're talking about." It's because of their attachments. This is why all spirituality has taught Don't become attached to physical things. Don't become attached to money. Don't become attached to fame. Don't become attached to power. Don't become attached to these things. You can experience them without being attached to them. Don't become attached. Attachment will pull you deeper. So this is going to explain if there is going to be a dimensional shift coming, which everybody's talking about. I've had communications that have led me to believe that this may happen. Again, I'm not saying this because I understand it completely, because I don't know that I do. But it would explain it. That if there's going to be 3 separate Earths, as many have said, and I believe I've been given information that this might be the case, it's going to be a frequency thing. So is the 2D world right now, if the world were to split into 3 different worlds, it would be based on attachment. And attachment means lower frequency. Lower frequency that we now are able to experience in the 3rd dimension. We can experience a big range of frequencies, but it's going to get tighter and tighter, and you won't be able to experience more frequencies at once. And so the lower dimensional frequency, which would be fear, hate, narcissistic control, victim mentality. Please, it is not spiritual to be a victim. David Icke is not teaching spirituality. He is teaching victim mentality. To believe that you live in a universe where false beings of light consciously trap you in a karmic prison is a victim mentality. And it is a black hole in and of itself. Once you buy into that and you get pulled into it, again, you won't be able to see out of it. That's why, when I tell people all the time, that you chose to come here and that your life situation, no matter how horrible, is of your own creation. People get very upset when I tell them that. They want to be told that they have no power. They want to believe that beings are doing it to them and that they don't have any choice in it. And I go, if that's true, then you're screwed. It means that there's no escape. It means that higher dimensional beings that have more power than you are forcing you to stay where you are. You'll never be able to escape. Why do you want to hold on to this? I'm telling you that if you chose to create your horrible circumstances, then you have the ability to choose to create different circumstances. Why isn't the first reaction one of relief and joy? Oh my God, thank you so much. Now I know a way out. Teach me how to choose how to live a different reality. But that's not many people's reactions. Many people's reactions is to get mad at me and go and listen to David Icke, who will tell you that you're trapped and that you're being eaten and fed off of by beings outside of yourself, and they have the power to do things to you without your permission. And that is a lie. Victim mentality is just the same. It's the counterpart of the narcissistic abuse. That's why victims need to believe in an evil overlord. The word archon just means ruler. People use that word thinking they're being spiritual. Oh, the archons, this. What you're saying is that there are beings that are ruling over you. I'm telling you what I've learned from higher dimensions, which is there is no being more powerful than you. I'm here to tell you my experience is that those beings of light in higher dimensions, when I astrally interact with them, they treat me like I'm the God. They treat me like I'm the one that has all the power. They do the exact opposite. And even now, to this day, people will come and say, you have to be careful because, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to puff up your ego. Listen, I used to be an exorcist. And I can tell you that demons never puff up your ego. They always devalue you. Now, narcissistic ego, people who have narcissistic delusions, those people actually don't have a puffed up ego. They have an extremely devalued ego, which is why they pretend. If you talk to somebody who's had any kind of recovery from actual narcissistic personality disorder, they will tell you that what's really going on when narcissists act like they're the most powerful, what's really going on is that they're putting forward a false personality because they want to lie. They can't tolerate you actually seeing them. They don't really believe that they're all powerful, which is why narcissists always vacillate between delusions of grandeur and victimhood. Because where they're really coming from is a place of victim mentality. So you're either the victim that needs to belittle and abuse other people so that you can try and feel better about yourself, or you're the victim who gets their value from being victimized. That's going to be the lower 2D black hole. It would make sense that what will happen is a black hole will be formed. And those people will go into that black hole thinking that they're in a reality. And they'll be living in smart cities and they'll be overlorded by Anunnakis in their mind. And all that, they create that. Please get rid of all that nonsense. Get rid of any belief that says that you are a victim, please. There's no more time to screw around with this. I can help you with that. The things that I teach, the practices that I teach, if you work with me personally, I can help you with that. Every single person that has worked with me and has followed my directions consistently and to the letter, every single one of them have transformed. Not everybody follows through or stays consistent. Anyway, let's keep going. So black holes are formed by gravity, which is attachment. Our higher selves exist outside of the 3D black hole. You are already outside of this black hole. What you're experiencing is your perception. Your perception is focused here. And you have this third dimensional physical body which you've manifested so you can focus your perception here because, again, this is a meatbag android that you're remotely controlling from other dimensions. You put just like when you're playing a video game, you're all just consumed by it. You're just looking at a two-dimensional screen, but you're really into it, and all of your perception is in the video game. But if the video game stops, you'll be back into your normal, perception. That's what happens when people die. They wake up, and they're in a whole different place. Everything is beautiful and wonderful, and they're talking to gods and angels, and it's because all that's happened is that perception has left the third dimension and it's back where it belongs. This is a temporary place. I'm not telling you this because I read it in a book. I've experienced it. I know it from personal experience. I know it's true. If you want to have that experience, I can teach you how to have them. The quickest way is to go to the live guided interdimensional meditations. You can watch the ones that have already been archived on the live section of the channel. It's time to get out of your head, it's time to do the work. You want to do the work, I can help you. If we release our attachments, we can escape into higher dimensions. In order to communicate with a higher dimensional being, you have to be willing to release your attachments. So what will happen is that when you communicate with a higher dimensional being, it will be an assault on your third dimensional existence. You might have a very blissful experience. Some people will be frightened, but when they look back on it, they'll realize that nothing frightening was happening. There's a really great series on right now on Apple TV, Divergence. What is it? Is that what it's called? It's about these people who, what the heck is it? I can't remember the name, but it's the new one that just came out, finished the second season, where they split themselves into two personalities. One that lives inside of this lower, underneath, the basement of this giant building, and the other one, they're normal 3D selves, and they're completely separated. And there's a thing that's called reintegration, which we're going to see, as this continues, where people try to reintegrate these two personalities into one. This is what will happen when you interact with higher dimensional beings. They are seeking to reintegrate you, but what happens in that? What happens in that series is that this guy's trying to reintegrate, and he's communicating back and forth. I don't want to destroy it, but he's communicating back and forth with his his separated self, and he gives his other self the opportunity to reintegrate, and the separated self refuses, and he gets paranoid, and he thinks he's going to die, which of course isn't what's going to happen. But he doesn't know that. This is what's happening to us. We think when we connect to higher dimensional beings, we feel like it's going to kill us. One of the first things that happened when I started talking to these higher dimensional beings is that I was deathly afraid that I was going to disappear. I can't explain it. That was just the way that it felt, that if I keep talking to these beings, I'm going to disappear. And the opposite has happened. I am going through a reintegration where I'm reintegrating with my higher self. That's why I recommend you watch the videos that I put about my past life experiences. It's all about me reintegrating into my truer higher self. This is what will happen. So people who reject that will go into a lower attachment, a deeper, lower dimensional world. I believe there will be a middle world where people are working through it. It'll be very similar to this third dimensional reality. And then there's the 5D reality. We go there every single time we do these meditations. Every time we do these meditations, at the end, we spend some time in that 5D reality. And what's weird is at the end of those meditations, it's like, I have to end it, but I don't want to. I want to just disappear from here into that other very beautiful place. So I think that's what will happen. And I say at the end of the meditations, just know that one day when you open your eyes, you will be in that place. And that's simply that we've completely released the attachment to this world. I can't tell you if that's what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. This is how it's been presented to me. But we are definitely going through a transition that we have never seen before. The world has never seen this. I've been alive for 61 years. I can promise you there was no such thing as the Mandela effect 30 years ago. It didn't exist. The Mandela effect exists now, and it's like a provable thing. It's not just people misremembering. You can have videos and photographs of the exact same event, and they will be completely different from each other, and they're both real. They're not made up. That can't happen unless reality is diverging, unless it's splitting. That much I know. Is it easy for me to believe this? It is not. I know there's a lot of people out there that talk about this, and they talk about it like they totally get it. I'm not sure how deep and valuable, how valid their experiences are. There's a lot of people out there spewing nonsense and talking out their rear end and pretending. And I'm not. I'm a real person here, and I'm telling you the truth, and I'm not going to lie to you about anything. I don't know how this 3-world shift is going to happen, and I wish I could believe, because if I had the ability right now to shift out of this dimension into that 5D world that I go to, I would do it. No hesitation. But I haven't been able to pull that off yet. And as it turns out, I have some work to do, so I have to finish my work. But I'm very impatient to get there. Anyway, I'm starting to babble, so I'll stop it there. So, the reason why we feel like we're in a prison planet is because we are in a black hole. And a black hole is something that we have created. And we have created it so that we would go deep within and experience our soul and then awaken. Because you can't, when you're in bliss, it's hard to awaken because you're already everything is so blissful. So souls go, I want to become more powerful and more awake. So they go into these closed systems, which science will say is a black hole. And within those black holes are more black holes. It just goes down. It's just like, one of those, Russian nesting eggs. Anyway, I'm going to put a link in the description if you want to learn more what science is talking about. I'm going to stop talking because I'm babbling. I love you all. Thank you all for being here. If you want to support the channel, I'm still challenging. I started off with a challenge for 20 people who haven't already done so, or who have but are no longer subscribed at the moment. Go here to thunderwizard.com, which is my Patreon page. Subscribe at the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong or above. That is what is necessary for this channel to stay here. So I need, some people have responded, and I really appreciate that. I need 15 more of you. It's those Patreon subscriptions that allows me to keep doing this work. So I'm challenging you to go beyond what you think you've learned. Push yourself. Say yes. When you go beyond what you think you've learned, your attachment. Here's the thing about my work. The things that I teach, the higher the levels are. When you go to the higher level work, and you do that work, the more that you do that, the more you will detach from this third dimensional black hole. Not everybody out there can say that. There's a lot of people teaching a lot of stuff. And not all of them can say that. I can say that. Because I've experienced it, and people, like I said, people who do it, they expand and they detach. And this is what we're going to need if we're going to make that shift to the higher frequency, which I'm sure we will. But I'm here to help. And for right now, while we're in this 3D thing, I need that in order to be able to keep doing this. Like everybody else, I got to pay bills. So go against your internal fears. I'm here to be a beacon for that, to help you do that. All right, that's it. I'm going to shut up now. Thank you all. I love you all. Please be very good to yourselves. And I will see you all very soon.